Today, I'll be doing an informative speech on the basics of volleyball. To begin, I figure I'd give a brief explanation on the history of the sport that was originally called minute to net. It was created by William G. Morgan in 1895. His plan was to create a sport that was a combination of baseball, basketball, tennis, and handball. We now know it today as volleyball, and more than 800 million people across the world play each week. Now, there are two different types of competitive volleyball. There's indoor volleyball and there's beach volleyball. There are a few differences, but they follow the same general rule. The differences are the court size. For one, the indoor court is much larger than the outdoor, and it is played on hardwood, while the beach volleyball is on sand, obviously. And then also the differences between the number of players that are playing. Indoor volleyball is 6 versus 6, and beach volleyball is 2 versus 2. Today I'll be focusing more on indoor volleyball because it's what I play and what I'm more familiar with. To start off, I'll explain the rotation and the players on the court. As I said, there are 6 players. There's a front row and a back row. The court is divided by a line called the 10-foot line or the hitting line. It is basically used to decipher between the front row and the back row. The front row players are normally your hitters, and they stand from behind the 10-foot line, do an approach, and attack the ball over the net. While the back row players are your passers, and they focus on the back half of the court, and they pass the serves that are coming at them. There are 4 main skills that you need for volleyball. The most basic and common one is passing or bumping. In lower, middle school games, you mainly only see passing. They normally just pass it over back and forth to each other, and it's not always exciting sometimes, but that is definitely the main skill, and it looks something like this. And then next is setting, which you use your fingertips and you set it up like that. You normally set a pass coming from the back row, and you set it to your hitters, and the hitters will then hit the ball over the net. That is for more advanced volleyball, like in high school and college. So now for the rotation. It's kind of confusing and hard to explain, but basically the back right position is your serving position, and they are the person that controls the game pretty much. So if I'm serving, I will continue to score, and if my team keeps getting the point, I keep serving. However, if we lose the point somehow, and the other team is now serving and we are on receive, if the other team loses their point or we get a point, then I will rotate clockwise and the next server will be serving. So that's basically the rotation and a mini little explanation. The biggest rule for volleyball is that you can only have 3 touches before you can send it across the net to the other side. So let's say I pass it, my teammate sets it, and another person sets it, and then we hit it again. We will lose that point because we had 4 touches. However, there's one exception to where you can have 4 touches, and that is if you are blocking the other team's hit and the blocker tips the ball, then that is ignored and you can still do pass, set, hit, and get 3 touches. For the scoring, to get a point, either if you mess up, then you lose a point. Like if you hit it into the net or if you shank the ball somewhere, the other team will get a point. But the main goal is to get your ball across the net to where the other team is unable to return it. So volleyball is played in sets. Some games are best of 3 and some games are best of 5. What that means is the first person to win 2 sets wins the best of 3, and the first person to win 3 sets wins the best of 5. In order to win a set, you have to score 25 points before the other team does. However, you have to win by 2 points. So if the score is 25 to 24, that does not count. You have to wait until you get to 26. You have to win by 2 points. So that is kind of my brief explanation of volleyball, and I hope you learned something.